Hey everybody, today we are back working on the world's first and only fully GTI converted up. Come and have a look at this. So this car was originally delivered in Australia as a non-turbo up, but I bought this here from overseas, from the UK. It's been fully converted. Now, why is it the first and only one in the world? Because no one else would be dumb enough to do it, because either A, it may have been available in their country, or B, it costs way too much to do this. Now, we never ever got the GTI in Australia. I really wanted one, did some research, turned out it was illegal to bring one in here, but not to build your own and get it engineered and done. So that is what we've been doing. It doesn't really make a whole lot of financial sense. An up GTI in the UK is around £13,000, which is 25,000 Australian dollars. So far, I've spent about double that, and it still doesn't work. But today, we're going to be finishing off those final little bits and pieces to get this thing out on the road and working properly. My mate Myles is coming down. We've got a bunch of extra parts that we got from Volkswagen overseas, plus Volkswagen in Australia. We're going to be putting them all in. I mean, they're important things like steering wheel that's not working, brakes that are not working, but today we're going to fix that. We're going to install all of this stuff. We've got some spicy little mods to do. This episode is going to be absolutely epic. So get revved up. People, okay, run the graphics. Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. I would get in there to show you a couple of things, but this door is broken. But people, look at this. 6-speed box from a GTI, tartan interior. Look at this. Look at this. Actually, don't look at that. We still got to work on that. Look at this. GTI dash with little digital bits. Steering wheel, massive problem. You know why? Because there's a bunch of features and functions of this car that need to be accessed that we can't access because there's no button. But we're going to fix that today. How are we going to fix it? Come and meet my mate Myles. He is the Volkswagen pilot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What a crappy intro. He's very clever, and I've said this before. If you're in a room with him, you're dumb. Awkward yet?
Yeah, very awkward actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with the steering wheel, Myles. Why are we changing it?
Right, so you have no buttons on your up wheel, so you've got no way of controlling the MFD or stereo when we put that in. So this is actually a wheel from a Mark 6 GTI.
Yep.
However, it is an auto one, but we're going to get rid of these. But yeah, this was the right price. So, and I know this bill's nice and expensive, so we've got it at a really good price for you. Which was
How
free.
much was it?
Free.
How?
I swapped a few favours.
That even though this is Mark 6, that this here will interface with our ECU, right?
So there's two steering wheels for Volkswagens generally. There's a 12-button configuration and 18-button configuration.
Yeah.
So this is a Mark 6 wheel. What would actually be on that car is a Mark 7 wheel with a 12-button. Really rare in Australia. This is a wheel, it works, it's got the right buttons, it looks pretty, it'll match the interior of the car, so hopefully
Amazing.
that goes on and it works. We just got to get rid of these silly paddle extensions in the back and it'll make it work.
I'll get an angle grinder out. And then people, check this out. We got a whole box full of little bits that we needed. So there were a couple of things that were missing that I wanted to make that kind of interior be finished. Some of those were like little shroud and stuff like this that goes over the GTI steering column, because originally we thought we could use the up steering column, then we couldn't use all of the mechanism for the key. All of that was a big thing. But we got two keys, right? One key's for the barrel, one key's for the door.
Yep.
And so how do we open it to fix it?
So you can try sticking the key in the lock and turning it.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't work.
We have some more trims for the steering column.
Nice.
We've got buttons for the TPS reset.
Oh, this is the trim for
the underside of the steering column.
underside of the steering column. So good.
And yeah, so basically door lock, pressure sensor, steering wheel. So that one goes there and that one's going to go there on top.
Oh, Myles, it's going to be so good. This car's going to be worth $70,000 when it's finished.
Yes.
What I would like to do is just steering wheel first, so we can see if its functions actually work with the car, because that's a big one. Because basically, if you want to go through the menus, you need to use the arrows on the steering wheel that currently don't exist. So I want to do that first.
Yep.
And then I suggest we sort out all the shrouds, the little switches, then the door lock, and then we can move on to the tech and entertainment. The first thing I'm doing is unplugging the battery, because I've had too much bad luck with frying stuff on this build already to take any chances. Using a phone camera helps with locating the clips on the airbag, and once that's removed, you can take off the steering wheel using some Euro tools. We've actually done a whole episode on changing steering wheels, which I will link down below. You can see just how many extra features are accessible with the Mark 6 GTI wheel compared to the factory up wheel, which has nothing on it. But now look at this, buttons, which means I'll be able to access the menus on the Up GTI dash. And the red stitching is an added bonus that's going to look great with my tartan seats. Are you a Volkswagen flog like I am? Flog is golf backwards, by the way. I'm not insulting you or me, even though you're all flogs. Why is it that the first modification you do is extending this thing? It's like you see all over eBay and other things like paddle extender. Why does it need to be extended? Because the only reason you would need to extend that is if you're driving like that, Myles, and you're trying to flap it with your little finger. If you're like that, why do people do it? What's going on there? Just let us know in the comments. I would love to know, because I've owned a lot of Vag cars and I've never understood why you would do that. Because I reckon it looks like shit. So why do you do it? Is it just because you're a flog like me, or does it actually do something? I'd love to know. Now I'm going to pull these things off. Oh, how good's the double-sided tape? I've got a friend here that's going to tell you exactly where that stuff should go.
In the bin.
You missed a bit. Will your Gemini be faster than this when your Gemini's finished?
So much faster.
How much, you reckon?
Twice as fast.
And you reckon your Copen will be faster than this as well?
That I'm not sure about.
I'm using this tiny ToolPro bit ratchet, which is available from Super Cheap Auto for about $12, to help get the fiddly interior parts back together. It includes Torx bits and has a lifetime warranty, so it's a handy little thing to have around your garage. We actually often give them away for free inside our Cheryl's Big Box Loot Crate, so you might get lucky and even score yourself one. With the interior shrouds now attached, it's time to install the GTI steering wheel, and it looks so freaking good that I'm starting to get super excited. Next up, the airbag can be installed back inside the steering wheel, and then it's time to test it out and see if these GTI buttons actually work with my Up ECU. Let's attach the battery, and fingers crossed this actually works. It works. Look at that. So before, if this was on, say, average speed, that was not changeable. So you could go through and try and adjust some things here, but you didn't actually get to move through the menu at all. Whereas now we got up and down. We can go through language, MFD data, the time, units, change it back to miles just for the fun of it. See, miles? Change it back to, great, all right. What's next?
Door lock.
Let's do the door lock.
Excellent.
For reasons that are still a mystery, the whole door lock mechanism stopped working, so we're going to replace it with a new one from VW.
So there's a really cool way of taking the door lock out. So there's two little screws here.
Yep.
There's that one there and that one there. We back this one all the way out, and then we use this one when we loosen it off. You use it like a plunger. You press it in, and it takes the key barrel out of the front of the door that way.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we take those two out there, and we drop the lock out from underneath.
Now here's some straight talk for a second, no cap. When I was younger and rolling around in a VL Commodore or Sylvia, I had no understanding of why people would spend so much money on a hatchback when they could just go out and buy a WRX or a GTI that would probably end up being better, cheaper and faster straight out of the box. But I was missing an important aspect of owning a car, and that is the journey. This Up GTI makes no financial sense at all, and it's fought us the whole way. But does that mean you just give up and go and buy an RS3 instead? Well, yes, and I did do that, but the point is, I didn't give up on this project. While there's a huge sunk cost that I wanted to see redeemed, there's also a story and a journey in the heartache of working on a car for this long, and that helps foster perseverance and determination. And they're two things that the world needs more of right now, and you don't get that from a factory car, and you don't get it from everything being easy. First things first. Well, that's already better, but does it lock? It won't unlock, it just won't. Ah! Adding some masking tape to your screws is a good idea when you've got to install them deep in the dash and you don't want to lose them forever. I've got one final piece of trim to install, which also arrived new from VW, and then the whole steering wheel assembly is finally done, and it looks absolutely incredible with the Mark 6 GTI wheel. We do still have a brake sensor fault, so we're going to change in a brand new sensor, and then we can scan again via the laptop and see if we can clear the error codes once and for all. All right, we've just plugged in. Now we're going to check for error codes. No doubt there will be a few, but we can clear them, and then that will tell us what else we got to do. Even with the new sensor, we're still getting a brake fault. Plus, we're getting a seatbelt fault. This, unfortunately, will require a deep dive back into the loom. But for now, we're going to move on to the head unit. Now, when this Volkswagen Up came out in 2012, it was very, very light on when it comes to its features. Really basic head unit, really basic everything. Now, the GTI version obviously gives you a little bit more fanciness, but now it's 2024, people, and we want to make sure it's extra fancy. So I actually want to put in a double DIN head unit, which will give you Android and CarPlay as well. But the car doesn't actually have the faculty or the infrastructure to install that. So to do that, you can get a double DIN fascia, which is like this, which it is going to involve a little bit of cutting. Sorry to the purists out there. But to make it fit, it's not just about making the double DIN head unit fit. We've got to relocate some stuff out of the way. So the air conditioning controls and buttons and things, we actually need to move them from where they currently are in the factory location and move them down to a new part that doesn't exist yet, but that is involved in this kit. So basically that'll make enough room to get a double DIN in there. Then all of the controls will be mounted underneath that. Never done it before. I don't know what I'm doing. Myles is here still. Hopefully together we get some joy. When it comes to the wiring and stuff like that, we'll get some little cables to connect that together. We might need to wire some stuff. We'll see how we go. But for now, let's start cutting shit up. I'm going to be relocating these factory fan controls from here to down here, which is a pretty big job in itself. And then I'm going to be getting an angle grinder and taking that to the interior to accommodate a double DIN head unit, which is something that this car was never designed to fit. But these days, phone connectivity is really important when you've got a car that you want to be driving every day. I've just got to make sure I don't get it wrong, so I'm going to measure everything really carefully, because unlike a Corolla or a Camry, you cannot get other interior parts for this up easily, and if you can get them at all, it's probably going to be something that I'd need to order in from Germany, and that is not something that I want to have to do. After hitting it with an angle grinder, then I'm using a Ryobi rotary tool, and then I'm going to use a sander to clean up the edges, and then I can start installing the head unit fascia to see if it all fits. All right, Myles. I think that looks okay. How are you going? Oh, that goes like that.
Yeah, so that's going to go like that.
Do you know the best thing about that? This used to have a little fascia on it from the factory, and when taking it off, it broke.
And yes.
While I was in charge of it.
Is it like an ECU?
Stop it.
So that should go in there like so. Perfect. Like I bought one. Probably need maybe a tiny shave somewhere in one of these corners here, but...
Where's the... Oh, over here.
Somewhere it's going to be fouling.
That's so good.
You're going to have CarPlay, man.
Look at that, that's great. Now that I've got a correctly sized hole, I can take the angle grinder to some more interior parts and continue the installation with a Christmas tree bit, which I'm going to be using to make some holes to run the control wires into the back of the panel. Meanwhile, Myles is going to cut anything that's getting in the way of our installation. That looks so good. In fact, it looks factory fresh. Now that all of that part has been installed and held in with a couple of screws, I can run the microphone for the head unit, and now we can focus on getting the actual double DIN unit into place with this fascia that comes with the kit. This is the new faceplate for the CarPlay system that we've installed. This here actually runs the old buttons. Now the updated buttons, which are these ones from a newer Up GTI, don't actually fit in there. You can see the difference between that and that. So there's a couple of options. We can cut this out to make it the same as this. We could potentially print something new like that, or I know what each of these buttons does. So what I'm thinking, just to get it done, is putting this over the top of the existing button. So ones like this, that is still going to be hazard lights. So that one should be, so that's doing hazards. And then down the bottom, that's heated seat. So I'll know that that one there is heated seat because it's wired for this button. So for now, I'm just going to put this in, and then later on, if I want to, I can update those buttons, or just remember that that means heated seat, and so does that. At this point, we blew a fuse, and even though everything multimetered fine, when we pulled each one out and inspected it visually, one of them wasn't quite right, but we got that changed, and CarPlay is now connected and working. Head unit is now working. We're on, which is great. And steering wheel controls. Working. So there we go. We got CarPlay, steering wheel, got our controls down here. A big day, people. A very big day. It was at this point that Myles decided that he wanted to modify this plate so that it would fit the updated buttons. Strap yourself in, people. This is about to get crazy. The front plate was cut, test fit with the buttons, then the whole area was sprayed with 3D scanning solution. Scan reference point stickers were then applied, and then this section of the car was scanned in 3D. Once this had been captured in the computer, Myles then designed up some trim rings, which he sent to the resin printer to be created. Once finished the next morning, they're test fitted and then applied to the front plate with some glue. After this, they're sprayed in a booth and then left to cook until well done. Now complete, we've got a fascia for an older up that's now compatible with buttons from a newer up and also accommodates our double-din head unit while all looking super clean. This is absolutely amazing. We've also swapped in a modern UP GTI ECU that a fan actually sent us to the Unicorn circuit.
So we now no longer have an airbag fault. This is the bit of loom out of the old one. Everything seemed right. I think the actual issue is the plug. There might be a little resistor in the plug. The moment I unplugged that one, plugged this one in, pinned it into the right spot in the control module, she all good. I will find a spot for that, run it with the rest of it and limit up. And there is now no longer error lights on the dash. It's amazing, it's pretty. Christmas trees are not pretty, and when it comes to dashboards.
This is a massive milestone because for the first time since doing this conversion, there are no error lights, no check engine lights, and no faults on the dash. So a massive thanks to Myles and the Unicorn circuit viewer that sent us this ECU. And that ECU came from you. Someone sent it to the Unicorn circuit. Thank you very much for that because you saved the day. Please find enclosed one ECU.
That is very generous.
Please don't smoke this too. Keep up the good work from Andrew.
What
Andrew,
legend.
you freaking legend.
Donor car, Volkswagen, UP GTI.
So without that wouldn't have worked. But a newer ECU, can you tell me what the deal is with that?
Yeah, so the Australian delivered Polo ECU was, it ran the car, but it had a brake booster issue. We changed the brake booster sensor and it still had the issue. So when we put the supplied one from the Unicorn circuit, we put that in, it had 2020 software on there, and it had a petrol particulate filter.
Yep.
So we had to.
And that's basically from Europe in like 2019. They started running all of those, didn't they? With the Vag cars.
Yeah. So we had to downgrade the firmware on it to be the same firmware we were running on the other ECU, but didn't have the fault.
Yeah.
So either the Polo ECU had a fault or something.
Okay.
So yeah. Anyway.
Myles, am I right in saying, because I was just doing the maths on this, there's been 4 ECUs in this car, is that correct? So there's the UP ECU that it came with.
Yeah.
Then there's the GTI ECU that I fried. Then there's the Polo ECU that was reflashed and worked, but then had some errors due to the brake booster. And then there's the 2020 UP GTI ECU.
Yes.
Thank you, Myles.
It's like,
What a clever man. Without you, that would be a very expensive doorstop.
well, you would have found someone else to do it for sure.
No, because I wouldn't have wanted to spend the time with them, and they wouldn't have wanted to spend the time with me.
Look, there was a few times where maybe I didn't want to spend the time with you, but we got.
Oh, come on. Yeah, okay.
No, it's all good. The car is done. It definitely fought the whole way.
Didn't it? It didn't want to be turbo.
No, it did. Everything fought, like the engine, the conversion, the gearbox issues you had, the wiring issues we had, the ECU problems, like just every little thing. The stereo fought with us the whole time, like just everything.
It almost should have been that you just put the engine in, plug the loom in, and then off you go. But because it was, which is what we thought, and instead it's been, compared to the value of the car, it is the most expensive conversion we've ever done. Thank you, mate.
Too easy. Enjoy.
It's fast. It's actually quick. Oh, this is so good. Oh my gosh, there's been so much effort and so much time has gone into building this car. But it's on the road, it's working. There are no error lights. I got my mad little digital dash. I got my 6-speed. It's so good. And I've actually had all my papers updated and changed now so that it's actually officially a turbocharged car, which is so good. And then of course, you got to make sure you are covered by your insurance. So I've called Shannons. They cover all your legal modifications. And you want to make sure as well that you do update your insurer with when you do modify your car, because that can also affect the value of your car as well. So I called them and I'm like, it's got turbo, it's got exhaust, it's got a full interior, and it's fully covered. So if you want to get a quote for your car, whether it's a kind of a sports car or just a daily, check out the Shannons website. They are supporters of Mighty Car Mods. They actually know what they're talking about. When you get on the phone, they'll understand about whether you've got an import or a special car. They do laid up cover as well. So check out Shannons, and thank you very much for insuring this car and supporting the show. I am so excited. It's been a whole lot of time, a whole lot of money, a whole lot of expertise that is way beyond what I could have done myself. So I want to say thanks to everybody that helped out. And now that we've got a stock car, or kind of a stock GTI, now it's time to start looking at the modifications, because it's really good, but it can be a little bit better.